There are moments in life when people decide who you are before you ever say a word. A worn work jacket, an old pickup truck, a small toolbox carried by a 7-year-old boy. Sometimes, that is all it takes to be ignored, dismissed, looked down on. But what happens when the man everyone underestimated becomes the only person standing between a luxury empire and total collapse? Tonight's story is not just about cars, it is not just about money, and it is definitely not about who has the biggest title in the room. It is about something far more dangerous: assumptions. Because sometimes, the people we judge the fastest are carrying battles we cannot see, knowledge we cannot imagine, and strength we have not earned the right to measure. A luxury automotive company was hours away from losing millions. Elite specialists failed. Engineers failed, technology failed, pressure exploded, and the one man who could save everything was someone they had already decided didn't belong. But this story goes deeper, because hidden inside one impossible mechanical problem was a father trying to rebuild life after loss, a little boy learning what dignity looks like, and one decision that would change several lives forever. Stay until the end, because the final 5 minutes are not about fixing an engine. They are about fixing something far more important, and once you see it, you may never judge people the same way again. This is a story about resilience, about second chances, about purpose, and about why the quietest people in the room should never be underestimated. 7 certified technicians had failed. Not beginners, not interns, experts. People trusted with machines worth more than houses. People who built entire careers solving problems nobody else could solve. For 4 straight days, they fought the same engine and lost. By Thursday afternoon, tension inside Blackstone Prestige Automotive had become something people could physically feel. It lived in hallways, in unfinished coffee cups, in conversations that stopped when someone important walked into the room. An $8 million collector vehicle sat silent inside Service Bay 3, motionless, uncooperative, almost impossible to explain. 3 outside specialists had already walked away. 6 internal technicians had exhausted every diagnostic procedure available. Nothing worked. No software warning, no system failure, no clear mechanical explanation, just silence. And silence can destroy companies. Victoria Reed understood that better than most people. At 34 years old, she had built Blackstone Prestige Automotive into one of Colorado's most respected luxury automotive brands. It hadn't been inherited. It hadn't been handed to her. She built it. Long nights, missed weekends, hard decisions, risk, pressure. 3 years earlier, competitors said she wouldn't last. Too young, too ambitious, too aggressive. Now those same competitors quietly copied her business model. Success changes how people see you until something goes wrong. Then suddenly, everyone waits to see you fail. Victoria stood behind the glass wall overlooking the service department, arms folded, eyes fixed below. Technicians moved carefully around the Aston Martin prototype. Too carefully. That worried her. Confident people move naturally. People losing confidence move slowly. Richard Holloway called 37 minutes earlier. One of Blackstone's biggest clients. Private collector. Investor. The owner of the Aston. His voice stayed calm. Victoria hated calm. Anger could be managed. Calm usually meant disappointment. And disappointment cost money. Friday evening, Richard had said quietly, "That's the deadline." One sentence. No threats. No raised voice. No emotion. Worse than anger. Much worse. Victoria looked down toward Service Bay 3. Brandon Pierce stood beside the vehicle. Head of technical operations. Smart. Disciplined. Confident. Sometimes too confident. 42 years old. Perfect suits. Perfect schedules. Perfect reputation. The kind of man people trusted immediately. Today, even Brandon looked tired. And Brandon Pierce never looked tired. Victoria turned away from the glass. Her assistant, Megan Ellis, sat near the office entrance, tablet in hand, 3 unread reports waiting. Victoria ignored all of them. "What do we know?" she asked. Megan hesitated. "Nothing new. Victoria looked up. What do you mean nothing? We checked diagnostics again. And? Nothing. Fuel delivery? Clear. Pressure systems? No issues. Electrical? No abnormalities. Victoria slowly exhaled. Not because she was angry, because she was calculating. Investors, clients, exhibition guests, media coverage, expectations, one broken machine, one failed event. Sometimes success collapses faster than people realize. Brandon? Victoria asked. Megan stayed quiet for a second, then quietly. He doesn't think we can fix it. Silence. Real silence. The dangerous kind. Victoria looked back toward Service Bay 3. The Aston sat beneath bright white lighting. Beautiful. Silent. Worth millions. Worth sleepless nights. Worth reputations. Worth careers. 3 floors below, across town, completely unaware. Caleb Ward adjusted a hydraulic lift inside Ward Mechanical Garage. No luxury showroom, no glass offices, no investors, just concrete floors, tool cabinets, engine oil, work, honest work. The garage sat outside Colorado Springs, quiet side of town. Old buildings, older businesses, the kind of neighborhood people passed without noticing. Caleb preferred it that way. 38 years old, lean, quiet, dark work jacket, calloused hands. A man who spoke only when necessary. Customers trusted him quickly, not because he smiled often, because he didn't waste words. Inside the garage, near Bay 2, sat Noah. 7 years old, blue hoodie, small sneakers, blue toolbox resting beside him. Worn edges, scratches, plastic latch, slightly crooked. To strangers, it looked cheap. To Noah, it mattered, because his father gave it to him. Years ago, before life changed, before loss moved into their house. Dad? Caleb looked up. Yeah? Noah held up a small bolt. Think this matters? Caleb walked over, looked carefully, then smiled. Every piece matters. Even little ones? Especially little ones. Noah nodded seriously. Like he always did. Because Noah listened carefully, watched carefully, learned quietly, a lot like his mother. Though Caleb didn't think about that often anymore. Or at least, he tried not to. Outside, Colorado wind moved across empty sidewalks. Inside, ordinary life continued. Transmission repair, oil changes, brake systems, simple work, steady work. Life after loss sometimes depends on ordinary things. Routine, responsibility, showing up. Again, and again, and again. Caleb believed in that, more than almost anything. Then Thursday happened. A specialty fuel regulator needed pickup. Exclusive supplier. Blackstone Prestige Automotive. Quick trip. 10 minutes. Maybe 15. School started late, so Noah came too. Blue toolbox in hand. Like always, neither of them knew. Before noon, someone inside that luxury dealership would underestimate the wrong man, and 72 hours later, everything would change. The first outside specialist arrived at Blackstone Prestige Automotive at 8:15 Thursday morning. He drove in from Denver, 23 years restoring European collector vehicles, industry reputation, high-end clients. Waiting list nearly 6 months long, the kind of expert people called when problems stopped making sense. Victoria Reed met him personally. No small talk, no showroom tour, no coffee. Straight to Service Bay 3. The Aston Vantage Heritage prototype sat under overhead lights. Still silent, still impossible. The specialist walked around it once, slowly, hands in pockets, eyes studying every detail. Not touching, just watching. Good technicians know machines talk. Not with sound, with patterns. Alignment. Wear. Tiny inconsistencies. Small things. Things ordinary people never notice. 20 minutes later, he stood up, looked toward Victoria, and quietly said something she never expected to hear. I don't know. Victoria folded her arms. What do you mean you don't know? I mean exactly that. You haven't opened anything. I don't need to. The man looked back toward the Aston. Whoever designed modifications around this balancing system did something unusual. Victoria felt pressure building behind her eyes. Can you fix it? Long silence. Then, no. One word. Clean. Direct. Dangerous. What if time wasn't a problem? Victoria asked. It is a problem. What if money wasn't a problem? The man looked at her carefully. Money solves labor. Money solves access. Money solves speed. But money doesn't solve understanding. Then he packed his tools and left. The second specialist arrived before lunch. California. Performance systems consultant. Former motorsport engineering lead. Confident. Sharp. Expensive. Victoria liked him immediately. Mostly because he still believed he could solve it. 3 hours later, he didn't. I've never seen balancing behavior like this, he admitted. Software conflict? No. Mechanical? Not exactly. Electrical? No. Victoria stared. What does that even mean? It means, he paused. I don't think this car is failing normally. Not failing normally. Those 3 words followed her the rest of the day. By 3:30 that afternoon, Blackstone Prestige Automotive had a problem bigger than one broken collector vehicle. Rumors. People sensed things. Employees noticed. Investors asked questions. Pressure spreads faster than information. Victoria knew that, which made everything worse. Inside conference room B, Brandon Pierce stood near the display screen. Diagnostic reports covered every monitor. Heat mapping, pressure analysis, system behavior, failure points, dozens of pages, no answers. We're out of options, Brandon said. Victoria looked up immediately. No. Brandon stayed calm. We've exhausted internal resources. No. Victoria. No. She stood, walked toward the screen, pointed toward engine diagrams, then explained it. Silence. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Brandon finally answered. We can't. The room felt smaller. Too small. What exactly failed? Victoria asked. We don't know. What's causing shutdown? We don't know. Can it run? No. Can we guarantee tomorrow? No. Every answer felt heavier, more expensive, more dangerous. Megan sat quietly near the far side of the room, watching, listening, learning. Victoria looked toward Brandon. Give me alternatives. We substitute display inventory. No. Most guests won't notice. No. Victoria. No. Her voice sharpened. Stronger now. Controlled. Firm. We promised Richard Holloway his vehicle. We promised authenticity. We deliver authenticity. Brandon folded his arms. Or we lose everything. Victoria looked directly at him. No. Silence. Or we lose ourselves. Nobody answered. Because deep down, everybody understood. A luxury brand survives mistakes. It doesn't survive broken trust. 5:30. Conference room empty. Dark outside. Colorado winter clouds, moving in early. Victoria stood alone inside Service Bay 3. The Aston sat motionless. Still. Silent. Expensive. Beautiful. Worth nearly $8 million. Worth months of preparation. Worth reputations. She slowly walked around it. Once. Twice. Studying details she barely understood. Curves. Carbon accents. Hand-built precision. Extraordinary engineering. Completely useless. Right now. It might as well have been sculpture. Her phone vibrated. Richard Holloway. Again. Victoria answered immediately. Richard. Quiet voice. Measured. Controlled. You have news? No. Worst possible answer. Silence. Then. I understand. Too calm. Again. Dangerously calm. We're working on it, Victoria said. I know. Richard. If it doesn't run tomorrow. He stopped. Not because he didn't know what to say, because he didn't need to, Victoria understood. Contract gone. Investors nervous. Credibility damaged. One event. One machine. One failure. That was all it took sometimes. People think businesses collapse slowly. Many don't. Many collapse all at once. 8:22 that night. Across town, Caleb Ward sat at his kitchen table. Noah across from him. Homework open. Blue toolbox beside his chair. Normal night, simple dinner, chicken, rice, steamed vegetables. Ordinary life. Dad? Caleb looked up. Yeah? Noah pointed toward his math paper. I think I messed up. Caleb leaned closer, studied the page. Quiet, patient, no rushing, never rushing. No. What? You didn't mess up. I didn't? You skipped a step. Noah looked again. Oh. Caleb smiled faintly. Big difference. Noah nodded, thinking. Then quietly. Dad? Yeah? Can people mess up and still fix things? Caleb looked at him. Really looked. Longer than normal. Sometimes. Even big mistakes? Especially big mistakes. Noah nodded. Satisfied. Children accept truths. Adults fight for years to understand. Upstairs later. House quiet. Kitchen dark. Phone resting beside Caleb's coffee. Message notification. Blackstone. Prestige. Automotive. Requesting urgent consultation. Again. Caleb stared. Silent kitchen. Silent house. Silent years. And somewhere deep inside him, something old, something buried, something he spent years learning to live without, shifted, only slightly, but enough to matter. Caleb Ward did not answer the message immediately. He almost never answered anything immediately. Not calls, not emails, not decisions. Life had taught him something years ago. Fast decisions feel good. Careful decisions last longer. The kitchen sat quiet around him. A single light above the stove. Coffee cooling beside him. Phone screen glowing softly against the table. Blackstone. Prestige Automotive. Urgent consultation requested. Again. No explanation. No details. Just urgency. Funny. 3 days ago, someone inside that building looked at him like he didn't belong. Now someone inside that same building needed help. Life had a strange sense of timing. Upstairs. Floorboards shifted. Soft footsteps. Then, silence. Noah. Probably getting water. Probably thinking. The boy thought constantly. A habit Caleb recognized immediately. Emily used to do the same thing. Think quietly, deeply, carefully. Sometimes, Caleb still heard her voice. Not literally. Memory doesn't work like that. It works differently. A phrase, a habit, a look on Noah's face, tiny things. Little reminders life leaves behind. He stood slowly, walked toward the sink, poured cold coffee away, looked outside. Colorado Springs sat quiet beneath early winter skies. Streetlights, dark houses, ordinary life. The kind of life Caleb built carefully, deliberately, piece by piece, one decision at a time. Years ago, everything looked different. Different city, different life, different version of himself. Back then, people knew Caleb Ward. Not customers, industry people, engineers, manufacturers, executives. He used to stand inside facilities larger than football fields, research labs, testing environments, prototype divisions, places where people chased impossible ideas and sometimes found them. Nordaxis Engineering changed everything. Or maybe it changed him. 31 years old, youngest systems architecture led in company history, performance balancing specialist, thermal synchronization research, patent work, private development programs, long nights, longer expectations. People called him gifted, brilliant, future industry leader. Caleb hated all of it. Not engineering, the attention. Emily used to laugh about it. You know, most people enjoy compliments. They're distracting. They're kind. They're loud. She laughed harder every time. Emily understood him. Not because they were similar, because they weren't. Caleb moved carefully through life. Emily moved brightly, warm, patient, alive in ways he never learned naturally. She taught middle school science, loved books, loved gardens, loved terrible cooking shows, loved Noah before Noah even existed. And somehow, for reasons Caleb never fully understood, she loved him. One winter evening years ago, snow falling outside, Noah asleep upstairs, Emily sitting beside him on their old apartment couch. She looked toward engineering papers spread across the coffee table. research notes, system modeling, prototype calculations, future, ambition, pressure, everything Caleb believed mattered. "You know what your problem is?" Emily asked. "I have several." "You think accomplishment matters more than impact." Caleb looked over. "Those aren't different things." "They are." "No." "Yes." She smiled. That smile. The one that usually meant she already knew she was right. "You build things people admire," Emily said quietly. "But someday," she leaned against him. Softly, comfortably, "someday I hope you build things people need." Back then, he didn't understand. Not fully. Back then, life still felt permanent. Permanent careers, permanent plans, permanent people. Funny how quickly life teaches otherwise. The phone vibrated again. Message, Megan Ellis. "Blackstone Prestige Automotive. Please." That single word felt different. Not corporate, not polished, human. Caleb stared at it, longer than he wanted to, long enough to know something uncomfortable. Part of him already decided. Not because of Blackstone, not because of money, not even because of engineering. Because Emily would have answered. Because Noah was watching. Always watching. Children learn character slowly, one ordinary moment at a time. "Dad?" Caleb turned. Noah stood near the stairs, sleepy, blanket wrapped around his shoulders, hair messy. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You thinking?" "Little bit." Noah nodded. "You do that a lot." "So do you." "Mom did too." Silence. Small silence. Heavy silence. Noah looked toward the phone. "Garage stuff?" "Why?" "Maybe." "You helping somebody?" Caleb looked at him. Really looked. 7 years old. Blue pajama pants. Tired eyes. Emily's eyes. Always Emily's eyes. "Maybe," Caleb said quietly. Noah thought. Then nodded once. Simple. Certain. "You should." "Why?" "Because you always tell me." "Told you what?" Noah pulled the blanket tighter. "If we can help somebody." He yawned. "We should try." Then, just like that, he turned, walked upstairs, gone, leaving silence behind. But not empty silence. Different silence. Caleb looked down at the phone again. Blackstone, Prestige Automotive, urgent consultation. Finally, slowly, he typed. One sentence. Simple, professional. "I'll stop by tomorrow evening." No promises. Response came less than 20 seconds later. "Thank you, Victoria Reed, CEO. Blackstone Prestige Automotive." Caleb stared at the screen. Long enough to remember glass walls, luxury floors, a little boy holding a blue toolbox, someone choosing silence. Long enough to remember everything. Then, quietly, almost to himself, he said something he hadn't said in years. One look. Just one. Nothing more. Or at least, that's what Caleb Ward told himself. Blackstone Prestige Automotive looked different at night. Quieter, colder, more honest. Luxury buildings change after business hours. Without customers, without music, without polished conversations filling empty space. What remains is pressure. And tonight, pressure sat inside Service Bay 3. Heavy, silent, waiting. Victoria Reed stood beside the Aston Vantage Heritage prototype with both arms folded tightly. 11:12 p.m. 20 hours until exhibition night. 20 hours before investors arrived. 20 hours before collectors walked through showroom doors expecting perfection. And the centerpiece of everything still wouldn't move. Megan Ellis stood nearby holding a tablet. Brandon Pierce leaned against a tool cabinet. Exhaustion visible now. No confidence left. Only frustration. "You really think he's coming?" Brandon asked quietly. Victoria didn't answer immediately, because truthfully, she didn't know. Then, headlights crossed the glass entrance. Everyone turned. Dark pickup truck. Older model. Nothing expensive. Nothing impressive. Driver door opened. Caleb Ward stepped out. Dark work jacket. Jeans. Boots. Same quiet presence. Same steady walk. Nothing about him looked extraordinary. That was the problem. People expected extraordinary people to announce themselves. Real expertise rarely does. Victoria walked toward him immediately. For a second, Neither spoke. Cold Colorado wind moved through the parking lot. Then finally, "Thank you for coming," Victoria said. Caleb nodded once. No smile, no resentment, no performance. Professional, measured, controlled. "I can only stay a couple hours," Caleb said. Victoria nodded immediately. "That's fine." He glanced around. Building, glass, lighting, luxury. Nothing changed. Everything changed. "Vehicle?" Caleb asked. "This way." No small talk, no explanation. Straight to work. Brandon watched quietly, arms folded, expression unreadable. Caleb noticed, didn't react, never did. Service Bay 3 felt strangely quiet. The Aston rested beneath overhead lights. Still beautiful. Still silent. Caleb stopped walking. Looked at it. Didn't touch it. Didn't speak. Just looked. 10 seconds. 20. 30. Nobody interrupted. Something about his silence changed the room. Brandon finally shifted. "You gonna need diagnostics?" "No." "Software reports?" "No." "Thermal mapping?" "No." Brandon folded his arms tighter. "We've run every test available." Caleb kept looking at the Aston. "I know." Brandon frowned slightly. Victoria noticed. Megan noticed too. Caleb slowly walked around the vehicle. One full circle. Then another. Hands inside jacket pockets. Quiet. Focused. Watching. Like someone reading a language nobody else understood. Victoria stepped closer. "What are you looking for?" Caleb didn't answer immediately. "Patterns." "Patterns?" "Machines leave patterns." Brandon exhaled quietly. Not rude, not respectful. Something between. "We already checked everything." Caleb crouched near the front wheel assembly. Studied alignment. Studied wear. Studied details. "You checked failures," Caleb said calmly. "I look for decisions." Silence. Brandon crossed his arms tighter. "What does that mean?" Caleb stood slowly, finally looked directly toward him. "Every engineer solves problems differently." Brandon stayed quiet. "Some prioritize performance, some reliability, some efficiency." Caleb looked toward the Aston. "Some leave signatures." Victoria watched carefully. Something felt different. The room changed somehow. Pressure shifted. Like someone finally walked into darkness carrying a flashlight. Not fixing. Not yet. Just seeing. Caleb opened the hood. Engine components sat exposed beneath white service lighting. Beautiful. Complex. Unusual. Immediately. Something changed in his face. Small. Almost invisible. But Victoria noticed. "What?" she asked. No answer. Caleb leaned slightly closer. Studied deeper. Long silence. Then, quietly, "Who modified this balancing architecture?" Victoria blinked. "You can tell it's modified?" No response. Only focus. "Who?" Caleb asked again. Megan checked the tablet. "Leon Varela." Silence. Real silence. For the first time all night, Caleb stopped moving. Completely. Brandon noticed. Victoria noticed. Everyone noticed. "Problem?" Victoria asked quietly. Caleb slowly stepped back, eyes still fixed. "Leon Varela built systems differently." "You know him?" Brandon asked. Caleb looked toward him. "I studied his work." "Studied?" "Years. Thousands of hours. Quietly. Alone. After midnight. After deadlines. After life changed." Victoria watched carefully. Something shifted inside her. A memory. Research file. Engineering history. Nordaxis. Thermal synchronization. Specialized balancing systems. Suddenly, pieces started connecting. "Not fully. Enough." "Caleb," Victoria said carefully. "You knew this system before tonight." Long silence. Then, very quietly, "No." Victoria blinked. "No?" Caleb looked toward the Aston again. Eyes focused, steady, controlled. "I knew the man who designed it." Silence. Cold silence. Heavy silence. Brandon stepped forward. "You worked with Leon Varela?" "No." "Then how?" "Because 10 years ago." Caleb finally turned. Looked directly toward them. "I spent 3 years trying to understand how he thought." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Victoria felt it immediately. That strange feeling. The one people get right before discovering they misunderstood someone completely. Completely. Caleb slowly reached inside his tool bag, removed something old, small, hand-built, modified, not expensive, not modern, just precise, very precise. Brandon frowned. What exactly is that? Caleb looked back toward the engine, quiet, focused, steady. Then, finally, the reason your 6 technicians missed it. Silence. Absolute silence. Outside, Colorado wind moved across empty streets. Inside, for the first time in 4 days, Hope entered Service Bay 3, and nobody said a word. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Even Brandon Pierce stopped talking, which, Victoria Reed realized, might have been the strangest thing she'd seen all week. Caleb Ward stood beside the Aston Vantage Heritage prototype, holding a device that looked too simple to matter. Small, modified, worn from use. The kind of tool people underestimate. The kind of tool that usually belongs to people who know exactly what they're doing. Brandon finally broke the silence. That's your plan? Caleb didn't answer. He stepped closer to the engine, carefully, methodically, like a man entering a conversation, not forcing answers, listening for them. Victoria watched him. Something about his movements felt different. No wasted energy, no unnecessary motion, no performance, just focus, pure focus. The service bay sat almost perfectly silent, only ventilation systems. Distant traffic outside. The quiet electrical hum of a building still awake after midnight. Caleb adjusted the probe, placed it against the balancing assembly, listened, moved, listened again, slow, precise, deliberate. Brandon shifted beside Megan. This makes no sense. Megan kept watching. Victoria didn't move. 11 minutes passed. Nobody interrupted. 12. 14. Then, Caleb stepped backward. Small movement. Almost invisible. But Victoria noticed immediately. Because people notice changes when they've been desperate long enough. What? Victoria asked. Caleb crouched beside the engine, eyes narrowing, focused, pressure balancing. Brandon folded his arms. We checked pressure systems. No. Caleb spoke calmly. You checked output. Brandon stared. Caleb pointed deeper toward internal balancing architecture. Leon Varela didn't build systems traditionally. You keep saying that, Brandon said, because it's important. Silence. Then Caleb spoke quietly, like a teacher explaining something difficult. Most engineers build systems for performance. Leon built systems for harmony. Nobody interrupted. He believed mechanical balance behaved like music. Victoria blinked. Music? Caleb kept working. Pressure, temperature, frequency, tolerance. They weren't separate variables to him. They worked together. Brandon frowned. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't to you. Sharp, clean, not cruel, just true. Silence settled again. Caleb leaned closer, studied alignment, studied spacing, measured distance. Once, twice, 3 times. Then, quietly, there. Victoria stepped closer immediately. What? Caleb pointed. Small component, near balancing architecture, almost invisible. You see that? Nobody answered, because nobody saw it. It's misaligned. Brandon stepped forward. No chance. Caleb didn't argue, didn't defend himself, didn't explain, only reached for a precision measurement tool, positioned it carefully, measured again. Victoria watched numbers appear. Tiny difference. Almost nothing. Brandon leaned closer, face changing slowly. No way. 0.4 millimeters. Less than half a pencil width. Enough to shut down an entire system. Enough to fool 6 technicians. Enough to nearly destroy an $8 million contract. Victoria stared. That's impossible. No, Caleb said quietly. It's overlooked. Silence. Real silence. The dangerous kind. Brandon stepped backward slowly. Like someone watching certainty collapse. Victoria looked toward Caleb. Can you fix it? Long pause. Careful pause. The kind professionals give before difficult truths. Not immediately. Hope dropped. Fast. Victoria felt it physically. Why? Component damage. Meaning? Someone adjusted alignment. One of us? Caleb didn't answer. Didn't need to. Brandon looked away. Megan slowly lowered her tablet. Nobody said anything. Because nobody needed to. Pressure, mistakes, desperation. 4 days. Somewhere. Someone trying to fix it. Made it worse. Caleb carefully removed the damaged component. Held it beneath service lighting. Studied it. Quiet. Focused. Then, it can be rebuilt. Victoria moved immediately. How long? Material matters. What do you need? Caleb finally looked directly toward her. Titanium alloy specifications, precision machining, custom tolerance shaping. Not simple, not fast. Victoria grabbed her phone instantly. I'll get it. Victoria. I said I'll get it. For the first time in days. She wasn't thinking like a CEO. She wasn't thinking about contracts, investors, brand image, money. She was thinking about solving something, actually solving it. 3 phone calls, 1 emergency supplier, 2 favors called in, 48 minutes. Colorado after midnight became strangely useful when enough money moved fast enough. 1:06 a.m. Materials arrived. Caleb didn't celebrate, didn't react, just worked, grinding, measuring, shaping, checking, again and again. Precision isn't dramatic. Real mastery rarely is. Victoria sat quietly nearby, watching, learning, understanding. For the first time, she realized something uncomfortable. People like Caleb existed everywhere. Quiet experts, hidden brilliance, people overlooked because they didn't advertise themselves. People ignored, undervalued, misjudged. A dangerous mistake, especially for leaders. How long were you at Nord Axis? Victoria asked quietly. Caleb kept working. 8 years. You left willingly? Long silence. Too long. Then, life changed. Victoria didn't ask more. Some answers arrive when people trust you enough. Some don't. 2:41 a.m. Component complete. Caleb installed it carefully. Measured again. Adjusted. Measured again. Everything precise. Everything intentional. The room felt smaller somehow, because everyone knew. This was it. Final attempt. Victoria stood near driver's side door. Hands cold. Heart faster than she wanted. Brandon said nothing. Absolutely nothing. Caleb stepped backward. Wiped his hands. Looked toward Victoria. First time all night. He smiled. Small. Almost invisible. But real. Try it. Silence. Nobody breathed. Nobody moved. Victoria climbed inside, hands shaking slightly. She hated that. Turned the key. 1 second. 2. Then, the engine came alive. Deep, controlled, powerful. Not struggling, not surviving. Alive. Completely alive. The sound filled. Service Bay 3. Strong, confident, certain. Victoria closed her eyes. Just for 1 second. 1 single second. Relief. Pressure leaving. Hope returning. Life changing. Because sometimes, the thing that gets repaired isn't the machine. Sometimes, it's people. Victoria Reed sat inside the Aston for several seconds after the engine came back to life. Hands still resting on the steering wheel. Eyes fixed forward. Not moving. Not speaking. Because relief doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes, it arrives quietly. Like pressure disappearing. Like finally breathing after holding your breath longer than you realized. The engine settled into a smooth idle. Confident. Controlled. Stable. Not fighting. Not surviving. Working exactly the way it was always meant to. Slowly, Victoria stepped out. Service Bay 3 felt different now. Same lights, same tools, same people, different room. Completely different room. Megan Ellis stood frozen beside her tablet. Almost smiling. Brandon Pierce stood near the workbench. Silent. Very silent. A man who built confidence around certainty. Suddenly learning certainty can disappear. Caleb Ward quietly packed his tools. No celebration. No victory speech. No performance. Just work finished. Same way he approached everything. Professional, simple, done. Victoria walked toward him. Caleb. He looked up. I don't know what to pay someone for this. You'll get an invoice. That's not what I meant. I know. Silence. He closed the final latch on his tool case. Metal clicked softly. Small sound. Big moment. Victoria folded her arms. Not defensive. Thinking. You knew. From the beginning. No. You suspected. Yes. How? Caleb adjusted his jacket. Thought carefully. Like always. Machines tell stories. Victoria waited. If you listen long enough, you hear patterns. She stared at him, not fully understanding, but understanding enough. Brandon finally stepped forward. First time speaking in almost an hour. I missed it. Nobody answered. I checked alignment. Caleb looked toward him. Not there. I checked pressure systems. Not there either. Brandon slowly exhaled. What did I miss? Long silence. Then, humility. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Not because Caleb wanted to embarrass him. Because truth doesn't always arrive comfortably. Brandon lowered his eyes. Small movement. Important movement. For the first time, Victoria saw something she'd never seen before. Not confidence. Not authority. Perspective. Hard-earned perspective. Caleb picked up his tool case. Started toward the exit. Victoria followed. That's it? What? You're leaving? Job's done. Caleb. He stopped. Cold Colorado air moved softly through the partially opened service entrance, the sky outside beginning to shift, night slowly surrendering to morning. I owe you an apology, Victoria said quietly. Caleb stayed still. No reaction. No interruption. Monday. Her voice steadier now. I saw what happened. Silence. I should have stepped in. Silence again. I didn't. Long pause. I know. 3 words. Simple. Heavy. Victoria looked down briefly. Something rare. Something uncomfortable. Regret. Not because Blackstone needed him. Because Noah needed someone to speak. And nobody had. That won't happen again, she said quietly. Caleb studied her. Carefully. People reveal themselves most clearly after failure. He knew that. Life taught him. Pain taught him. Loss taught him. Finally, very quietly. Good. Not forgiveness. Not punishment. Something better. Growth. Megan stepped closer. Holding paperwork. Industry reports. Research files. One folder opened. Visible. Nordaxis Engineering. Victoria noticed Caleb notice. You looked me up, he said, not accusing, just noticing. We did. Silence. You built thermal balancing systems? Victoria asked. Years ago. Industry journals still reference your work. Caleb said nothing. Why leave? Silence. Long silence. Dangerous silence. Victoria almost apologized. Then, my wife died. Simple. Direct. No softness. No performance. Just truth. The room changed immediately. Pressure shifted. Perspective shifted. Everything shifted. I had a son who needed me more. Nobody spoke. Because there wasn't anything to say. Some choices explain everything. Caleb walked outside. Cold morning air. Waiting. Pickup truck sitting exactly where he parked it. Ordinary truck. Ordinary life. Extraordinary man. People think greatness announces itself. It doesn't. Sometimes greatness fixes transmissions 20 minutes outside town. Sometimes greatness wears work boots. Sometimes greatness carries lunchboxes, packs school bags, reads bedtime stories, chooses family, again and again and again. Victoria stood outside watching him leave. Truck engines started. Headlights cut softly through early morning darkness. Gone. Just like that. No celebration. No spotlight. No announcement. Only silence. Different silence now. The good kind. Friday evening. Blackstone Prestige Automotive looked alive again. Music. Investors. Collectors. Luxury vehicles positioned beneath perfect lighting. Everything polished. Everything ready. At the center, the Aston. Running perfectly. Richard Holloway arrived at 7:12 p.m. Sharp suit. Quiet confidence. The kind wealthy people develop after decades of success. He walked directly toward the Aston, listened, felt engine vibration, small smile, almost invisible. Then, he found Victoria. "You fixed it." "We did." "We?" Victoria looked toward the showroom floor, thought about worn boots, blue toolbox, quiet strength, ordinary greatness. Yeah. Richard studied her. Something different, he noticed. Successful people usually do. "Who?" he asked. "Caleb Ward." Silence. Long silence. Then, "Nordaxis Caleb Ward?" Victoria blinked. "You know him?" Richard almost laughed. "Know him?" He looked back toward the Aston. "I spent 5 years trying to hire him." Victoria stood completely still. He turned down offers people would have crossed the country for. Silence. "Where is he now?" Victoria smiled slightly. "For the first time all week. Exactly where he wants to be." Later that night, back home, Noah sat cross-legged on the garage floor, blue toolbox open, plastic wrench in hand. Caleb worked nearby, quiet, normal, simple. "Dad?" "Yeah?" "Did the car work?" Caleb smiled faintly. "Yeah." Noah nodded, like he expected that answer. Cool. Silence. Then, "Dad?" "Yeah? Do you think someday?" Small pause. Careful pause. "Do you think I can build important things too?" Caleb looked toward him. Really looked. 7 years old. Blue toolbox. Emily's eyes. Hope. Possibility. Future. Then quietly, very quietly, he answered, "You already are." Outside, Colorado wind moved softly across quiet streets. Inside, life moved forward, the way it always does. One ordinary moment, one choice, one person, at a time. Most people will forget the engine. They will forget the luxury showroom, the contracts, the pressure, the money. But maybe that was never the point. Because this story was never really about a machine. It was about value. The value of people. The danger of arrogance. And the quiet power of kindness shown too late. Or not shown at all. Somewhere tonight, there is someone being underestimated. Someone working hard where nobody notices. Someone carrying pain silently. Someone choosing responsibility over recognition. Showing up again and again and again. Maybe you are that person. Or maybe someone around you is. A father trying his best. A mother carrying impossible weight. A worker nobody thanks. A person rebuilding life, one ordinary day at a time. The world teaches us to notice titles, money, status, appearances. But life teaches something very different. Character matters. Humility matters. Kindness matters. And how we treat people, especially people who cannot give us anything in return, says everything about who we really are. If this story stayed with you, carry it forward. Because someone out there may need hope today. Someone may need respect. Someone may need one person to believe in them before they stop believing in themselves. And remember this, the strongest people rarely announce themselves. Sometimes they wear worn-out work boots, drive old trucks, carry invisible pain, and quietly change the world anyway. We'll see you in the next story. Take care of people. You never know who they are becoming or what they are carrying. Fade out.